Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Yes, people, come in, come in, come in. Listen, we just got an update. The court for the Diddy trial had concluded. However, the judge had closed and sealed the courtroom because, because he needed to talk to the defense and he needed to talk to the prosecutors about what was going on. Now, earlier, if you watched my live stream, you noticed that they were talking about a particular juror, that the prosecution had a particular problem with a particular juror. Now, initially, I thought, was there some misconduct? Was this particular juror doing interviews? What's really going on? And then it started talking about the residency, saying that this particular juror lived or has a driver's license that lives in the Bronx, but he's saying that he lives in New Jersey. And so they've had a whole tit for tat, Baby, juror number 6 is out of there because of his inconsistencies. They believe that he was not telling the truth as to where he lived. So, in other words, he still has an address in the Bronx. He still has a New York's driver's license. He says he lives between two separate residencies, right? Well, when they questioned him again, because this is how it all got kicked off, he was back in the jury room, the courtroom, or whatever, and people were having casual conversations. And I guess he had been late a couple of times to court, and so casual conversation like, why are you late? You know what time it starts? Da 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 this, da 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 that. Well, he makes a little thing. Well, my commute is longer. I live in New Jersey. Da 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 this. So the court staff said, "Hey, Judge, I need for you to be made aware the reason why juror number 6 is late is because he says he lives in New Jersey." So the prosecution was immediate, like, we need to get him off the jury because he doesn't live there. So the judge is like, well, maybe we can kind of figure this out, because honestly, I think I'm not going to even say that, but it came down to it. They had another conversation with this juror, and basically he told another story. When they asked him how long has his daughter lived in New Jersey, he says, well, she's lived in New Jersey all her life. So in his voir dire statement, he lied. He said that he was living with his fiance and his daughter in New York in the Bronx. And then now he says they live in New Jersey. He's saying, oh, she's never lived in the Bronx. So he lied. So the judge was like, you know what? You haven't told us the truth. You want to be on this jury, and you want to be on this jury by any means necessary. Everybody else has shown that they can follow the rules of the court. You can't follow the rules of the court. So therefore, we're going to get you gone. So jury number 6 has been dismissed, and he has been replaced with an alternate. There was a couple little quips and coils going on too, because Xavier, I can't think of, Donaldson, gets up for the defense, and he basically, he says something to the effect that, hey, well, everybody knew that there was an issue or a problem. So the judge was like, well, knew that he didn't, that in his voir dire, there's something wrong, because this particular juror, from what we understand, is one that the defense had picked. And this is why they were making such a big stink about it. Well, baby, the judge was like, well, if you knew from the beginning that this man didn't live where he lived, why was he on the jury? Why was all this going on? And so they had to backpedal and pussy pop with all of that information. He was like, no, I'm just saying, if this was such a big issue, this should have been put out in if it would come up. But it didn't. It came up because this particular juror who wanted to be on this case, running his mouth, talking about he didn't live where he lived. And so now he had to sit in front of the judge, and the judge was like, you're not telling the truth, so we booted you out. So that means that one of the alternates is now going to be picked to be on the jury. Don't know who that's going to be. The defense tried to argue that the prosecution was trying to mess with the diversity on the jury pool, but the jury pool is quite diverse. It is quite diverse. They have blacks, they have whites, they have Hispanics, and they have Asians on this jury. So it is quite diverse. But however, juror number 6 is gone. Juror number 6 is gone. He has been booted off the jury pool. So we'll see how that works going forward. Because again, it's He didn't tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. So the judge had no choice but to boot him from the jury. So we're going to see how that affects things going forward. We're going to see how things are affected going forward. All right. I just wanted to let y'all know this is the update. They are still in court right now. They dismissed the jury. They closed the court. Then they opened the court back up because now they're talking about different things. And here's a couple of things that are at issue. You remember the drug mule, Brendan? He's going to be testifying next week. And also, they're still admitting exhibits and text messages and things that KK was involved in. Also, it seems like Jane Doe didn't give the prosecution what they believe that the prosecution should have. And it looks like they're looking for Gina. Look like they're looking for Gina. Because I don't think Jane Doe gave them what they thought that they was going to give. You know, like I said before, and even in my live stream, the prosecution is going to have to tie everything together. And right now, they have not done that. So if there's anything extra or juicy to report, I will definitely get back with you. All right, people, we do this every week. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Please share this video if you care. Y'all, juror number 6, out of here.